live TV, part of the Status Network. Today is Monday, December 17th, 2018, and the ATL. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Today it's going to be an extraordinary show. Those who've been following me and those who are new to the show, my whole purpose with the Wellness Architect show is to inspire, educate, and empower people to be the best versions of themselves, mind, body, and spirit. However, too, I'm very passionate about using my platform to showcase black men in a different light. I believe society and the media showcase us in a way that is not really um, positive to us. And with that narrative, a lot of times people believe that narrative, including ourselves. So we tend to look down upon the black men. So I want to use this platform to inspire us to be, to showcase us in a different light and inspire the black men to be the best version of themselves. And with that, today I have a great man on the show. Um, I always say we like to control how things work, and that time is not under our control. It's under when God want us to make this connection to work. So I met this guy pretty much a year ago. We are in the same men's group with Tony Gaskins, and we connected. We had conversations. We did stuff with groups together. I had reached out to him back then, saying, I want you to be on my group, my show, but the timing was not ready. You got to time. It's all about timing and being in alignment with the situation. So one day he hit me up and he was like, "Call me," and I called him. We had a great conversation, and he said he was ready. So today is the day I get to have Mr. Eugene Johnson Jr. on the show, the owner and CEO of Man to Man. Let's Talk. How you doing, brother?
Yes, sir. I'm doing great, man. How you doing today?
I'm great. So tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how you get to this point right here, right now.
So, my name's Eugene Johnson Jr. from Houma, Louisiana, and I reside in Texas, in the Houston area. And I've been here for about 18 years and loving every bit of it, man. Came over here with an opportunity and an aspiration of becoming a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent some time working in the Texas Children's Hospital as a physical therapist technician.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one of the therapists who saw something different in me. And she knew I like to work out and those things. And she said, "Why don't you go get paid for doing something you love?" Now, I'm coming from a background where, that wasn't encouraged. It was go to school, get a good education,
Mm-hmm.
get a good job, and hold that job down, right?
Right.
Well, this lady, she saw the benefit in sharing this information with me, and she saw potential in me. She said, "Go get paid for doing something you love." And I said, "What is that?" She said, "Go be a personal trainer." So I went and got certified as a trainer, and I realized uh, the opportunity here in the city of Houston and the surrounding areas where it can take me. And so I've been training since 2001, and
Mm-hmm.
it just so happened that this lady's name was Faith. And
Mm-hmm.
so, when I write my book, man, and talk about that, it all started with faith, and that's a whole nother story right there. But faith is the one that believed in me. Faith is the one who encouraged me. Faith is the one that helped me see what I didn't see in myself. So training since 2001, I got to the point to where when I was involved in the church that I was going to, we did a lot of men's retreats where we would get together and we would once a year, and for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we would spend time and talk about how we can become better men. And when it was all said and done, we'll go back and do what we have been doing. The problem with that was there wasn't a follow up.
Mm-hmm.
I was hungry for more. I wanted to spend time with the men more, like that weekend we had. So for 10 plus years, I've been doing that, and it got to the point eventually where I always wanted to speak and I always wanted to help out people in the area where it's needed and use the gift that God has given me. And so one time in May, uh, after I finally took the time out to go on YouTube and listen to Les Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And when I listened to Les Brown, I fell in love. I fell in love with what he had to say and how he said it. And I said, that's what I want to do. And that was the second time I said that's what I wanted to do. After one of the men at the men's retreats that I went to, he was so open and transparent about his life, and helping men. And I said, I want to be able to help men, just like this guy is. And then Les Brown just kind of put the icing on the cake. And I said, that day when I heard Les Brown, sitting in the parking lot, at my daughter's daycare, at my daughter's dance class. And I told my wife, I said, today is the day I'm going to start it. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to start this men's movement, and help out the men. And so I made a phone call to my minister in Louisiana, and I said, this is what I want to do. Can you help me? And he said, sure. When you want to get started? And then 2 months later, we had our first man-to-man Let's Talk workshop, about 30 plus men, and all of our lives were changed, and we've been rolling ever since. So, my goal is to be able to fill in the gap of what many organizations are doing with their men right now, and not have just this weekend emotional experience, but also to have it a continuous experience to where we can see the value in encouraging one another and sharpening one another on a daily basis. And that's where Man to Man Let's Talk was born in May 2007, and been pushing it and working it hard ever since, man. So that's where I'm at today. Man to Man, let's talk.
All right, we're gonna talk man to man too, um, because I think it's very much needed. Um, I've been having conversations a lot lately with men, and the number one thing that some of the men now are willing to admit is that they're broken, and but they don't know the necessary steps to do to try to heal themselves to put them back together. So, what's your thoughts on that?
On men being broken.
Yes, sir.
Well, there's a story. Everybody has a story to
Mm-hmm.
why they are broken and how they're put back together. A lot of times, we'll see broken pieces and we'll have all the tools to put it back together. The problem is that we don't use the tools that we have to put it together,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to require some exposure. It's going to require some work, in order for that to take place. It's going to require some, I don't know how to do this. It's going to require some vulnerability and all those different things. That's part of putting the pieces back together. We have to do everything that we can and follow the protocol that's already been established for us. And a lot of times, if all we had to do was communicate to get over the situation or to be put back together,
Mm-hmm.
that's like the nuts and bolts of it all in order for us to do it. The problem is that we're so conditioned that we don't want to talk because we've been told by well-respected individuals who we respect their words tremendously not to do X, Y, and Z. So
Mm-hmm.
many men are broken today because they living off the words of well-respected individuals, and they don't want to let them down. They don't want to, go ahead and be vulnerable, because in that well-respected person's eyes,
Mm-hmm.
that's a sign of weakness. If
Mm-hmm.
you talk to people about your problems, if you, cry when you need to cry, if you, say that you don't know how to do something or whatever, that person is going to stay broken because he's not going through the process of what it takes for us to heal. Now, the problem comes, or the challenge comes in, when our backs are against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's when we really open up, because now it's like, okay, I have to do this. Otherwise, I may not be here. And so we want to make sure that we are more proactive than reactive when it comes to putting the pieces together. But we have to move a lot of those walls out of the way in order for us to be put back together. And when we do that, then we're a better example, not only to ourselves, but the people around us,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about the people around us. It's not about us.
Right.
It's how everybody else see us when we're broken and put back together.
Absolutely. So one of the things too, they the men say, is the fear of allowing themselves to be vulnerable, especially around their women, because they fear that they don't have a safe space around the women as well either, because a lot of women now have adapted the mindset that we can't be vulnerable, if we can't cry, all this kind of stuff, because it makes us look weak in their eyes. So if the guys feel that their woman, they can't go to a woman, what do they do? Who do they go to?
Well, that's a good question. It's important to know who you are and whose you are. And everything starts with our creator. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when it's all said and done, there's no man or no woman that's going to be able to satisfy us like our Creator has, that can satisfy us. We have to know that the man that we say we follow, and that's Jesus Christ, you know, a man who's shown his happiness and he also shown his sadness. Now, if we can't model that, you know, we wear the name Christian, but we can't model what Christ did, then that's a problem. You know, because throughout the Bible, you know, we read about uh, men who had their ups and their downs, and they showed their vulnerability, and it's pretty consistent,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with that. So, you know, for if a man cannot go to his loved one for whatever reason, he know he always can go to God. And I don't know any woman, I don't know any woman who does not want a man who has dedicated his life to God. It's in order. When a man dedicates his life and is obedient to God, everything falls into place for that woman, you know, who is by his side. And so when he's vulnerable and able to have those conversations, you know, with his spouse and say, listen, or his loved one, you know, this is what I'm going through right now, you know, and I need your support. You know, we need to say that. We need to communicate that, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that brings the relationship closer together. But when you know who you are and you know whose you are,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy for an individual to be able to communicate that information because he knows that it's not about his loved one. It's all about God. And this is what God wants me to do, you know, not what my loved one wants me to do. This is what God wants me to do. And if I'm doing what God wants me to do, then despite what how she feels or whatever, God is going to work that out, you know, with that person, that loved one. But I'm going to make sure that my relationship is right with the one who put me here on this earth.
Absolutely. So I know you said you've been doing man to man let's talk for since 2009. So this is the
Actually, last year, 2017.
2017. So this is gonna be
Yeah.
a big year for you because in March you having your first man to man let's talk empowerment conference. So tell everybody about that.
First of all, man, it's real interesting. I got a buddy of mine. His name is Gary, and he's my business consultant. And so we grew up with each other,
Uh huh.
and so we talk from time to time. And when we got to this conversation about talking about the conference, you know, he was like, Gene, why don't you just go ahead and do it? And I was like, you know what? You doggone right. And I immediately went and started making some phone calls to different hotels and setting things up to where I can go and see, you know, how to handle the setup and the ins and outs of it. Interestingly enough, the time that I spent, you know, at the church that I was going to at the time,
Mm-hmm.
we did all the stuff that I'm doing right now for 10 plus years. I was involved in the setup, so I actually was groomed, you know, at the church where I was going to on what to do. So it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of second nature for me when I went to the locations and what to look for and how to handle things. And so I want in 18 years since I've been here in Houston, there has never been a men's empowerment conference, you know, at least annually. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's the fourth largest city in the country. And so for me, I'm like, this is a phenomenal opportunity, you know, to let the men know that there's something available that they can come to. We can sit down under the same roof and talk about the same problems with the same solutions and make a difference
All right.
in this city, you know. And so my goal is I'm looking for 100, you know, men who are hungry, you know, to help out the next man. And we're going to start with that 100. Once we get 100, that's it, because I want to make the atmosphere very intimate. And it's enough to where you don't miss too many people, but it's enough to where you have an opportunity to make enough connections, you know, while you're there. And so in this conference, we're going to talk about things pertaining to men's mental health. We're going to talk about things pertaining to man's physical health.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about the power of relationships and how it's important for us to connect with one another. We're going to also talk about the importance of listening, which we all have a challenging time doing, is listening
Mm-hmm.
effectively. The importance of loving one another, as well as connecting to one another so we can work together. And then the theme of it all is the definition of a man. And
Mm-hmm.
the question is, does your definition aligns with our creator's definition? Because I believe men are living their lives the way they are right now based off of what their definition of a man is.
Hmm.
And so my job is to bring awareness to what our creator's definition is. And then it's up to us to be able to accept it. That could be the thing that's keeping us from becoming the best man that we can be, because we want to make sure that we are in the boundaries of what God's definition of a man is. Hey, everything on this earth has a purpose.
Hmm.
From the clouds in the skies, the birds, the fish in the water, the grass, the trees, everything has a purpose. And so do we. And we have been given a definition just like everything else that's around us. The question is, are we living within the purpose that God has created us? That's what we want to sit down and talk about at the conference. It's 3 days, 2 nights, where you get your dinners, 2 dinners and 2 breakfasts, and the lunch will be on the men, where they go out and fellowship with one another and have a good time. We're also going to have, games, whether it's checkers, chess, spades, dominoes, different things to help bring men together. Now, 51% of this whole ordeal is going to be breakout sessions and interaction. It's not going to be sit down and lecturing. No, we're going to get together at the round table, and we're going to talk about whatever topic there it is, and we're going to go ahead and have those breakout sessions right after and get people talking. For people who sacrifice their time and their money to come there, I want you to know that you have a voice. If you don't have a voice nowhere else, you sure enough believe that when you come to this conference, we want to hear your voice. And when you hear your voice, that may impact the people that surround you, and it may free you from the things that you are, handling in your life right now. So I want the men that come there to know that we want you to talk. That's why it's called Man to Man, Let's Talk. We want to give you an opportunity to talk about your experiences and how your experiences can help someone else. And I believe the highlight of it all is what I call open mic. And that'll be the time where, men will have an opportunity to say, this is where I was and this is where I am. Hey guys, y'all pray for me, whatever it is. I'm going to start it off, with the open mic and let men know the things that I've been through, the things that I'm going through as a man, and how I need everybody in there to be on my team as I want to be on their team as well. And when it's all said and done, we'll leave from that conference challenge with some information on what we can do in the area where we're living. And we're going to stay connected, whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through text messages, whether it's through our closed Facebook group or email. Whichever way we can stay connected, that's our goal. We want to make sure that we keep the fire going after the conference and get ready for the next one.
I love it. So, what's the dates again for in March?
March the 7th through the 9th, 2019. Check-in is on that Thursday at 4 o'clock when we get things started.
And so, those who's listening, if they want to attend, how do they get the information?
So they get the information by going to www.m2, the number 2, letstalk.com. And it has all the information under the upcoming event tab. When you go through there, you register your information, and they also have where you go ahead and you send your payments. Now, this is the kicker. Okay, you have an opportunity to pay as much as $3.99 for the conference, and you can have an opportunity to get it for free. Let me share this with you. $3.99 if you're paying a singles rate. If you want to do your own thing, don't want no roommate or whatever. But we encourage you to have a roommate. Bring a roommate, because this is all about us working together. That's $3.99. It's $3.85 for you and your buddy per man. So $3.85 for one man, $3.85 for the next when you're rooming together. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then you have your small groups, which is from 3 to 9 people are considered the small groups. You pay $3.50 per individual in the small groups. Then you have your large groups, which are 10 or more people. You pay $3.25 per individual in that group. Now, Kevin, if you was the one to organize the group with 10 people, mm-hmm. and you say, look, man, we all paying on this one ticket. I got this group together. Your weekend is free, my friend. So that's how you can get that free. If you get enough people together, when it's all said and done, the more people we have, the better opportunity that everybody can pay a lower cost. So those are the prices. You go to the website to sign up and fill it out, and everything will be paid for. Where you get your drawstring backpack, you'll get a T-shirt like this, the man, let's talk T-shirt like this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and you'll also get some other things that'll come along with it. I have this wallet thing right here that you can put on the back of your cell phone. You get one of those, and your lanyard, as well as your program and everything else. All you got to do is get there, and everything else will be paid for.
Sounds good. And it's so funny because that was one of my goals that I was going to do. I didn't put a date yet for it, but that's something that I want to do because I do see it's a void out there for us. You got women doing it all the time for each other, having empowerment conferences for the women, but you never see anything for the men. And it was crazy is Eugene, when I first got certified to be a life coach, everybody told me, my idea of trying to be that person, that voice for the men is admirable. But if I want to eat, I gotta cater to the women because the women are gonna pay for it. And
Yeah,
so then a lot of times that means the men continue to get pushed to the side because they look at men as not someone who's going to invest in their own personal development. And so I started to see this year, the men's group that we are both are in and how that was working out. And then I was like, okay, it's a need. I just gotta figure out how to get it done. So then when you came and said, okay, we gonna do this, and then after I talked to you, I was like, okay, I might need to come down there and check it out, and then that'll be preparing me for when I'm ready to do mine. So it's like, okay, I'm starting to see how it's supposed to go and how I'm supposed to be able to do it and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting, very exciting time. Um, and I think the men need it, and I see a bigger platform for you. I know it's gonna start in Houston, but maybe one you come to the ATL and do one there, and let's make it
yes,
happen.
sir.
So let's talk to the topic at hand that you said on the definition of a man. What's your definition of a man?
Well, everything is driven from the Bible, and it's important that we align ourselves with what God has established. So if anybody, and with all due respect, because I know where I came from, and I know, uh, what I initially thought, what my definition of a man was, and then I realized, hold on, man, it has to be some God created. God has already established, who I am when it's all said and done. So my thing is in First Kings 2, 1 through 3. It's important for us as we look at that scripture. David was talking to Solomon, and I'll paraphrase a little bit about what the definition was. David was he was about to die, and he was talking to his son Solomon. And he said, "I'm about to go in the way of the world. So be strong and act like a man." And when he said act like a man, after that, he told him what it is to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, walk in the obedience of the Lord, keeping his decrees and his commands, observing, the Lord your God. Uh, when you do these things, you will prosper in everything you do and wherever you go. But everything was obedience, walking, observing the Lord your God. And so, as a man, it's important for us to make sure that we on point with that, because that's going to lead us in a direction where we need to go. And Solomon, that same Solomon, he took the scenic route, and he had everything in the world that he could have. He was one of the most wealthiest and wisest men that we read about in the Bible. And he realized in the last book of Ecclesiastes, he said the whole duty of man is to fear God and to keep his commandments. That's the same thing his dad told him. And then when we go into the New Testament, there are scriptures to back that up as well. So it's important for us that if we love God, that we need to follow the description that He has laid for us. Matter of fact, He created us in His image, in the beginning. So if He created us in His image, He had a purpose for us to
Hmm.
do what He wants us to do according to the way that He created us.
Hmm.
So the thing that we're fighting against today is what some man came up and he said, this is how men supposed to carry themselves. And a lot of it is completely contrary to what we see in the Bible. It's contrary to the one we say that we love and we follow, and that's Christ. I always challenge men to when they say, I ask them the question, I say, so tell me what a man is to you. And they would give me their definition. And I would use an example and I'd say, okay, so if you're in a situation, you have an opportunity to leave, and someone is challenging you to fight, what you gonna do? And he said, well, I'm gonna stand my ground and fight. All right, I respect that. Okay, if that's what you choose to do. All right. Well, as far as women is concerned, you know, what we define as men is the more women you have, the more man of a stud that you are, right? Yeah, okay, well, I respect that too. I understand what you're talking about. So the other thing is, if somebody hits you, then what you gonna do? Well, naturally, we're gonna hit them back because that's what we've been conditioned to do, right?
Right.
Great, I understand that. So for the people that don't do that, the men that don't do it, then how do you feel about them? Well, they're everything but anything positive that they would say,
Hmm.
about those individuals. Okay, well, in actuality, that's what you just called the one you said you love and you follow. Because according to his actions, when conflict arose, when he had an opportunity to kill them all, he ran. When someone hit someone on one side of the cheek, he encouraged us to turn the other cheek. When it comes to women and how many women we should have, well, it talks about the union, about how we should have one wife. And Christ talks about his bride, which is the church, and that's his only wife, which is one. So when it's all said and done, if we're living outside of our description, then we're going to get out of description results. And so many of us who have done that have came back and not even know it. That we've come back into the plan that define us as a man. And things are a little bit easier because we have given up a lot of those things that was outside of the description. And those are the things that lead us to becoming a better man based off of what's written in God's word. Now, if anybody can tell me something that's greater than what's written in God's word, I'm wide open to listen. But I know that that word, as it said, is perfect. We can't redefine or change perfect. So
Hmm.
if he said that this is how we're supposed to act, who am I to dispute that? And that is what I feel, according to what the scripture said, is our definition of a man. And starting in 1 Kings 2, verses 1 through 3, where David was talking to Solomon. Check that out, man. It's a good read and it's a great start in reference to what a man is.
Okay. And I think too, one of the things I um think is that a lot of times our ego gets in the way, and we use our ego for a definition of who we supposed to be, and we use our ego or or lack of confidence in ourselves, and we seek validation of others. So how other people define men to us is what we feel we have to supply to them because we want to validate them. So we want them to like us and to be please us. So we're gonna do what we think they want us to be or who we should be instead of being our true authentic selves of who we're supposed to be. And I think once we get past trying to get validation from everybody else and be our true selves, then we're gonna see the changes that we need to change. But I just think everybody's so concerned about being liked by everybody else and being concerned about what people gonna say that they just be a whole different person than who they really are. What's your thoughts, sir?
Absolutely. Yeah, Kevin, you and I have done something that not too many people will do. I'm sure along your path and where you are right now, there was a lot of people who doubted you, in reference to what you were doing and saying, "Hey, man, that's not gonna work, man. You might want to take, man, that's gonna take too long, man. How are you gonna even get the viewers? for that, man. I don't think that's the right direction for you, man. I heard that too. I
Right.
heard those things, but we know who we are. We know what we gifted with, and we have a vision, and
Right.
it's not for other people to see the vision that we have. That's why it's our vision,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so when it comes to that part and being validated as a man, that's why it's important for us to know who we are and whose we are
Mm-hmm.
when it's all said and done. Because God has given you a gift.
Right.
God has given me a gift. And there's nobody that can take that from us.
Right.
So it's the same thing with the things that we do as a man. God has given us a purpose while we were here. I like to use the analogy, of how we got here,
Mm-hmm.
and the fight it took for us to get here before we were even born.
Right.
When things took place, when nature took place and the swimmers was going, man, there's what, 40 million to 100 million swimmers that we fought against
Right.
to get here. So that right there says a lot in reference to how important it is for us to be here. And God saw the value for me and you to be here. When we got here, he gave us something. And so nobody can take that away. When it's all said and done, we are to the point right now that we appreciate and we respect what other people say.
Mm-hmm.
But I know what my vision is. I know what my gift is.
Right.
And I know that I'm going to pursue it no matter what. And that's what we have to accept when it's all said and done, that the relationship that we have vertically will
Mm-hmm.
validate everything. Politicians say this. They say, when you see a commercial, they say, I'm X, Y, and Z, and I approve this message,
Right.
right? Well, when God put us on this earth, he approved of us because
Mm-hmm.
he created us. So, man, we already endorsed. I don't really need anybody else's validation. It will be nice, but if I don't get it, I know I'm already endorsed. I'm validated already. So my job is to continue to pursue what God has given me and to make the impact in the area where God has given me responsibility of. And everything else is going to take care of itself because it's he who matters the most and not the we. I was all about the he. So that's where we at on that, man.
Well said, sir. Well said. I can't say it better than myself. So, well said. So, um, what do you say to the men who is looking to um, walk in their purpose, but they have the fear of the change or the fear of the journey? It is a journey. So, what would you say to them?
It's important for us to know how we're feeding our spirit. I remember when I was in college, there was a lot of things that took place in the decisions that I made that led me to make the decisions that I made. And I know that I was feeding myself the wrong food,
Mm-hmm.
and I made the wrong decisions uh, because of that. So you got to know it's important that the people that you hang around play a
Mm-hmm.
major part in the decisions that you make in your
Yeah.
future. The music that we listen to has an enormous
Mm-hmm.
part in our life. Because man, listen, in Louisiana, I went to Nicholls State University, played football there, and a lot of the people who I played ball with was from New Orleans, and many Cash Money was just coming up. They were hitting, they was killing everything
Right.
in Louisiana during that time from a local standpoint. They would come to the campus and we'll see them there before they even blew up, and No Limit and all of. So I mean, we was all about No Limit, Cash Money, and everybody who was connected with that. So I was exposed more to that culture, and that shaped me. It shaped me tremendously, and it didn't lead me in the right direction for my future where I'm at today. I had to give a lot of that stuff up. The books that we read, the
Mm-hmm.
books we read is important
Yep.
because man, once you see some things, man, you can't unsee them. Especially when you reading something, it just sticks more.
Right.
When you read something, especially when it's very descriptive. So you got to be careful of the things that you read and you meditate on, and then the videos that we watch and the videos that we promote. We got to be careful
Yep.
that those videos we watch and promote are something that will feed our spirit the
Mm-hmm.
right way, and it's all put together that will shape us to be able to step out on faith and do the things that we so desire to do. And of course, the people you hang around, as I mentioned earlier, that's important for us, to be able to make those sacrifices of not spending as much time with those individuals that don't share a vision or going in the direction that we're going, because all they're going to do is take some energy from us
Yeah.
that'll keep us from going in the direction we want to go. So for those individuals who are hesitant, they need to check themselves and what they feeding themselves and start detoxing themselves of those things that
Yes,
are
sir.
hurting them, and then connect themselves with the people that are doing something with themselves, and get some guidance and some wisdom from them. And when the time is right, they'll know when to take off. But they have to connect themselves with people like the lady who I work with by the name of Faith.
Hmm.
She encouraged me to be where I'm at today. And
Right.
so we need those people to be able to encourage us and see the value in us, and that gift in us that will help us live our purpose to the best of our ability.
I agree. To piggyback off of that, and when it comes down to as you go through the journey of walking to your purpose, you have to understand as you grow as a person, you're going to leave some people behind. It's not that you're better than that person, but the purpose of your relationship at that time is no longer needed. You can still love that person. You're going to love them from a distance because you two are no longer aligned with each other because y'all doing two different things, and you have to be
Right.
okay with that. And that's one of the problems people have a problem with. They don't want to. They fear the change that they're gonna lose friendships. You might lose those particular friendships because that purpose has ended, but it's allowing you to attract new people to you that's more aligned with who you are and where you're going. You and I have crossed paths because we're in the same alignment. And
Yeah,
if I wasn't doing what I was doing when you wouldn't do what you was doing, we would never have crossed paths. And
absolutely.
and so as you go walking your purpose, you gonna start to meet people, whether it's in your city or not your city, that's gonna be aligned with who you are and what you do. And the greatest thing about you, sir, is and I like to give credit where credit is due, is you don't feel competition. We both do similar things, but you don't look at me as competition. I don't look at you as competition. So when we had our conversation on the phone, it was like naturally we was like, okay, how can I help you, Kevin? Eugene, how can I help you? Because if I know that you doing great things in Houston and I'm doing great things in Atlanta, and both our goals is to be global, so we can help the masses, then we gotta be able to do it together and not feel that you could take away anything from me or I could take anything from you. So what I tell people all the time is, people say, well, Kevin, why you always have people who do similar things to you on the show? That could take away from your possibility of getting clients. I say, if somebody watched this show today and they like Eugene and they go, Eugene said, come to me, that was meant for Eugene to have that person in their life because that's who they gravitated to and that's who they needed at that moment. It didn't mean that you took that person from me. It was because that person wasn't mine in the first place. That's the person he just used. God just used me as the vessel to introduce that person to you, and that's what everybody has to understand. I can't take nothing from you, and you can't take nothing from me, but we could do great things together. And so once we learn that it's not a competition, and we all here to do the greater good, great things can happen. Which,
When that's spot on, and I know that I think we talked about that when we had talked on the phone
yeah,
about that, and we see the value in helping one another out. You know, when the listeners are listening to this, and one thing that we want to paint a clear picture when it comes to competition, I don't see anybody competing for the air that we breathe.
right,
Nobody's saying, hey, I need that air over here or I need that air over there. Nobody competing for that.
right,
There's enough air for all of us
yep,
to go around. And so if there's enough air for us to breathe, then there's enough blessings for us to receive.
hmm,
So when we stay in our lane and do what we're supposed to do, then we're going to get what was already set for us.
Mm-hmm.
I say that God has a Fort Knox of blessings for all of us individually,
Mm-hmm.
and we can make withdrawals based off of what we do for Him and live in the purpose that He has put us on this earth to do. And so it's important for us to realize that we are not competitors
Right.
because there's enough for everybody. I have not seen not once where the water went, there was a drought where we didn't have any
Right.
water on this earth. I haven't seen where there was an air shortage. I haven't even seen where there's a food shortage. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even people less fortunate than you and I still find a way to get something to eat. When it's all said and done, we have to minimize what the world promotes as far as competition is concerned. We
Mm-hmm.
are around it on a regular basis. We are brought up on it on a regular basis from when we're small to being an adult, from athletics to education to jobs, to driving from point A to point B. We are surrounded and conditioned to compete. Well, when we do what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to do it, we're going to get what we're supposed to get when that
Right.
time comes. But the time we spend on worrying about somebody else, that's less energy that's focusing on us
Mm-hmm.
so we can fulfill what we need to do. So we
Exactly.
have to encourage one another, to saying, listen, man, this is not about me taking from you because
Right.
you're gonna get yours regardless. I can't stop that. But what we can do, just like you said, is to help one another, so we can eat more than we anticipated eating just by ourselves. But
Right.
we have to look at it from that perspective. We won't be that it won't ever, even if we are the person that's on the top financially, then what? What have you accomplished?
Right.
And how are you giving back? The whole thing is you living your purpose and you bringing people on side of you, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not beneath you or they're
Absolutely.
not above you. They are on side of you. Because when we're working together, then we're doing what God wants us to do, to encourage one another, to build up one another, not to get somewhere on the expense of somebody else's feelings. The Bible doesn't talk about that. The Bible doesn't talk about competing. The world talks about competing. The
Mm-hmm.
Bible talks about love. And as men, we have to do that. We have to show love to one another. And we have to take that high road when we need to, because that man may not be where we are, but our example, based off the way that we respond to him, will teach him a lesson,
Right.
that we're not going to give that negative energy any time. But we're going to make sure that we do the right thing to keep that brother encouraged, because we was just like him at some point,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody helped us along the way.
Right.
So we have to be promoters of working together as teammates and not competitors, because everybody can eat. Until we run out of air,
Right.
we had enough blessings that everybody, can receive, and we'll have a good time. But we got to know who we are. We
Right.
got to know who we belong to, and
Mm-hmm.
we have to stand firm on that and let people know, if it wasn't for him, and we showing it by our actions, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be where we are. And it's my job to make sure that I purposely look for someone else that I can help, not wait until they come in my life. No,
Right.
I'm looking for that next man to help along the way. And if we create that type of atmosphere and culture,
Right.
then that will change the mindset of men and women.
Exactly. Because one of the things I tell people all the time is, when we compete and we have this crab in the barrel mentality, that's a mindset of lack, and there's no lack of anything. It's abundance of all things. So we gotta change that mindset of feeling that I have to be in competition with this person. This person gotta be better than me. No, it's because that person can't take nothing from you. There's not a lack of nothing. So it's not gonna be a lack of clients that you could attract for you to a lack of clients for me. It's gonna be abundance of all that for both of us. So there's a need
Mm.
for us to compete. That's the one thing I think that we really got to get our mindset wrapped around, is the competition shows us that we feel there's a lack of something. There's nothing that we are lacking anything. So we gotta do better about just saying what's for me is going to be for me, and I'm not in competition with nobody. But like you said, you in your lane, I'm in my lane, but we could do things together. So one of the things I really liked about you is that where I'm at my journey is when he introduced me to somebody new. Is my question is always what I supposed to learn from this person, or what that person supposed to learn from me, and how can we learn from each other and create something better. So when you and I had that conversation, it was like, okay, we both have the same purpose. We both are in health. We both want to have people be the healthiest version of themselves. I'm more, in the nutrition part. I do spin classes, but you are the physical trainer, personal trainer. I'm into the diet. The mindset. I'm a coach. You want to help the men. We both want the men to be great. So that's where
Right.
he brought us in together, because he know it's time for us to do the work to make these men great. Because it's time for the men to step into their own power and be 100% unapologetic of who they are and whose they are, and not
Hmm.
ask for permission to be great, not to ask for permission to be the king that they're supposed to be. So, and he said it's time for you two guys to connect, and let's work towards making this happen and make these men understand how great they really are. What's your thoughts?
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the things too, Kevin, is when you're talking about the competing thing, a lot of it comes from simple conversation,
Mm-hmm.
where many times, well, we've been conditioned to prove somebody wrong, instead of help them be right.
Yep.
And when it's all said and done, if I'm right and you're wrong, who wins?
Right.
Nobody wins. Nobody wins because you're not where I'm at. And if I'm concerned about your well being, then I need to empower you with the information that I was empowered with
Right.
so we can do some things together. One of the most dangerous things about information is the suppressing of information.
Mm-hmm.
We'll like to keep it and won't let anybody know because we don't want to see them get ahead or they may take off, further than where we started. Like we've been doing something for 10 plus years. They get it and they first go round and they running with it. Well,
Right.
I mean, that's what's happening on them. We have no control over that. We have to learn how to appreciate the blessing in the lessons that we're learning through our journey.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't see the value of what we're going through, uh, in the direction where we're going, whether it's entrepreneur, whether it's just simple relationships, and we don't pay attention to the lessons that's
Mm-hmm.
happening there, then God is not going to bless us with what it is that we so desire because we missed the message and
Right.
we're not prepared.
Right.
And so we can spend so much time in worrying about somebody else,
Right.
but we need to be focused on ourselves and saying, am I prepared, for this next level to
Right.
be able to handle the things that I would like to handle? And God knows best. He's not going to give us no more than what we can bear. And that's from the positive end to the negative end. He's not going to give us that financial reward, that house, or whatever it is that we're looking for. But he's also not going to put us through too much that we can't go through that's uncomfortable for us. So we got to know that when we're going through our journey, we have to appreciate the lessons. We have to
Right.
appreciate the
Yep.
people that are in our lives because the people that's in our lives, they have messages for us. If
Right.
we listen to them, they have messages for us that will lead us to the next level. I look at it like this: the old game Pac-Man. When Pac-Man, going around chomping on the pellets and all
Mm-hmm.
those things, and you got the ghost that's following him and stuff. And every now and then you get a strawberry or a cherry or a watermelon or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that gives you those extra points, or it may give you that extra life.
Right.
And then you got to work hard, for those things in the corner that where you can attack, the ghost that's coming after you. You got to work for that. You just
Right.
don't get it if you got about 4 or 5 other ghosts that's after you. That's our life. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like that. That cherry and that strawberry may be that person or that situation in the life that gives you extra life to get you to the next step on your journey
Mm-hmm.
because you actually paid attention. He was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. But I know, that information, I can use that. But knowing the whole time you being chased by our competitor, who is Satan, who is looking to bring us down, we got to keep on moving and find those cherries, strawberries, and watermelon. And every now and then we'll get that pellet in the corner that gives us that extra strength and motivation where we can knock out a lot of things. And that's because of God's grace. But when we do that and we encourage each other to do that together, we're
Mm-hmm.
able to work together better, as men,
Mm-hmm.
and be the best examples we can be for the women who are watching us and ready to support us. And then even better for the children that's going to be the next upcoming generation. They see it as well, but everything starts with us. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as we're not competing and fighting against each other, that we're working together and we're fighting against the same enemy, the one who's trying to bring us all down. When we band together and then we fight against him, then it's a wrap. But we have to see the value in coming together
Mm-hmm.
and doing the things that God has purposed us to do,
Right.
and know that we are guaranteed the blessings that he already have in store for us. But we have to do it in his order and his time, and
Mm-hmm.
then everything will be just fine after.
Right. And one of the things too is what you said is that we gotta be grateful for the journey. The good times and the bad times in the journey. You gotta show gratitude for both. And I know it's hard for people to do that because you say, how you gonna be grateful when you're going through a bad time? Because that's part of the journey. And the question is, what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn during that bad time? Because once you get past that lesson and go out, you want to go through that same thing again. So you got to learn that lesson. So you got to be grateful for learning that lesson. Otherwise, it's going to come back again and hurt you again. You got to also be grateful for the people who come in contact and understand that everybody's purposeful, or everybody's purposeful. And so I say, what's my purpose of meeting Eugene? What's my purpose of us having this relationship? What's my purpose of meeting this person? From that, I could learn to where I need to go and grow from that person. So that's what we got to understand. Everything's purposeful. The people you meet comes with a purpose. Either you're gonna learn from them, or they're gonna learn from you, or y'all gonna learn from each other, and y'all gonna grow. You know,
Mhm.
Everything you go in your life is life lessons. Show gratitude and good, bad, and indifferent, and say, I'm say, God, I'm grateful for whatever you've given me, good, bad, or indifferent. Because if you don't show gratitude and all you talk about is the lack, then He's not gonna give you no more because you're not grateful for what you already have, and that's what people have
That's
to
right.
understand. So, even like when I had a situation when I got sick and I was at the hospital, and the chaplain came to me and she said, "Do you want me to pray for you?" I said, I'm good right now." And they said, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "I'm a life coach." And I said, "I understand. I'm in the hospital right now for a purpose. I know what the purpose is, and I'm grateful for it." And she was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, and then the nurse was like, "Well, Mr. Kevin, you always smiling, you always pleasing, thank you, but you going through a hard time right now. How is that so?" I said, "Because each day I'm alive, I still show gratitude. Each day I be thankful for everything that goes on. Because if I'm mad, if I feel disgusted, I understand it's a journey, and so you gotta be grateful for it." And they was like, "Well, can we come back and talk to you again? You know, on another day." I said, "Sure, no problem." And they was like, "Because we had never experienced anybody like you, who is going through a rough time physically, but you always in a great mood. You always so pleasant. Everything's pleasing. Thank you. You got this joyful laughter about yourself, but you're going through a hard time." I said, "The hard time is the life lesson, and I still got to enjoy myself, enjoy life, going through this life lesson, and learn from it and move on." And so I said, if I could do anything for you guys today, is understand wherever you're going through, wherever you at right now. I said, enjoy it, be grateful for it, but know it's not gonna last forever, and show gratitude, keep it going. And they said that by the time I left the hospital, they said, "Can we friend you on Facebook? Because we want to stay in contact with you because we need that motivation." So you just never know. So You know.
Absolutely.
So
You know, one of the things about that,
uh
yeah, one of the things about that, Kev, is that the example that you say. That's why I said, and it's nothing against women. So, I hope nobody misinterpret this. But we set the tone when it comes to that, and you set the example by your action as a man and leading. Now anybody can do that, but for that moment, you set the tone, and we are leaders.
right,
We're definitely spiritual leaders in our household. Um, and when we do that, everybody has a role to play.
right,
And when we understand our roles, it's important. I'm not going to get too much in it in reference to the women aspect of it, but women don't realize the power that they already have. We don't have to wait for anybody else to
hmm,
tell us that we need to be empowered. Women have just as much power because they are created by God, like we've been created by God.
right,
And they have the same abilities to do the things that we can do in reference to what their gift and their purpose is.
right,
And so when it comes to those types of things, you don't have to work. So you already endorsed, just like God has endorsed us.
hmm,
And so when we know who we are and who we belong to, then everything else will work itself out. You set the tone in that room to where you impacted those individuals. And
hmm,
so that's the atmosphere, with men, how we supposed to impact.
right,
Man, it's unfortunate that we're leading in all the wrong areas, whether it's violent crimes, whether it's high school dropouts, or whether it's not enough men in college,
right,
or it's we're leading in drugs and alcohol abuse and use and those types of things. We are leading in the wrong areas, which means that if we switch that around, just think of the impact that we will have with the people in our community when we lead the right way. Right now, we're not being the right examples to the people that we are responsible for,
hmm,
and a lot of us don't want to accept that responsibility, that our actions play a major role to the individuals that we come in contact with. And so we need to see the value in that to make sure that the same impact that you had on those individuals during your time in the hospital, that didn't take you off your course.
hmm,
You encouraged them, you built them up, and they were drawn to you,
hmm,
enough to where they want to be a part of that energy. If we get more men like that, and that's why Man to Man Let's Talk is doing what it's doing, is to help bring men together to have the conversations, to help us be better men and
right,
working through those challenging things and knowing the fact that it's okay to leave what you learned behind. It's time to upgrade and to do better,
hmm,
so we can have the necessary impact that we have been purposed on this earth to have. When we do that, we have to see the value in it, but we have to do three things. We have to first show up, then we have to communicate,
hmm,
then we execute in order for that to take place. And it's hard for us to show up.
hmm,
And when we show up, depending on what the topic is, it's hard for us to communicate.
communicate,
But if we can show up, we'll communicate. And then when we establish common ground, then we'll be able to execute the way that it's been designed for us to execute. So, just like you did, perfect example, perfect story. We need to have thousands of other men. And I'm sure there's some men who are doing it right now, but the world needs to hear it. The
right,
world needs to see it. And if we're working together in numbers, like they did in the civil rights, movement and the walks and those things, man, and the 100 Men March when they did that way back when, man, if we got something that's consistent for the men and we're all speaking the same language
right,
and knowing that it's not about me. I'm just the jumping cables getting this conversation started.
right,
It's up for us as a team to keep it going.
hmm,
I'm taking the time to put some things together that'll bring us together to do some things. Now, what you do where you at, that's on you. But my goal is for us to stay connected and to encourage one another along the way. So as long as we don't look at it and say that he's the guy, he's the king, he said, no, man, I am not.
hmm,
I'm just using my gift.
right,
I'm using my gift. That's what I'm doing. And when we look at it from that perspective and understand that, hey, there's enough for all of us to eat, man. When we work together, guaranteed, then, that'll tear down a lot of walls and we'll be able to go farther and we'll be able to focus our energy on the positive thing more than what we don't have. We'll be more thankful for what we do have and have the right impact around the people that are in our lives.
Absolutely. So for the men who feel that they're not qualified enough to do what you do or do what I do, what do you say to them?
Those individuals have a gift just like I do. I'm looking for a team of men to be able to help me in the areas where it's needed. Everybody has a gift. What we have to stop doing, as I'm still working on, man, I'm still shaking off some things of what I was conditioned to believe. What we have to do is know that we are good in an area. We just don't talk about it that much because it's not like the next man who's getting all this attention. Everything is not designed by the attention that you get based off of what you do. What it is designed by is designed by how you're able to attract people and lead people to where you're going. So our focus need to be on how we can lead people, or help people come with me instead of worrying about, other people doing something better than me. You have no control over that. And when we sit down and we have the conversations that we need to have, then that person will realize, well, maybe I can do these things. And you have to have the right people around you to be able to say, man, just give it a try. Just
Mm-hmm.
give it a try. You don't want that one because all it takes is that, one individual to be like, you ain't gonna be nothing, you ain't amount to be nothing, that ain't gonna do anything. Man, you have to know that, look, this vision is my vision.
Right.
God gave me this vision and I'm gonna pursue it. And I'm gonna hang around folks who will be able to support and encourage me in that area. So if that person who is not as confident about it, he needs to be around the right individual or individuals that will help him be able to utilize the gift that he has. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has a purpose. It's just a matter of that person surrounding himself around the right people that will help him use his gift to the best of his ability.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, um, what would you say is would you recommend their first step be in trying to walk into their journey of their purpose? What would you recommend them do?
I would encourage any man, young or old, to get with another man and have the conversation that we're having right now. When a gentleman asked me when I was starting this, he asked me, "What's your definition of a man?" And I was all into it, and that was like the most important thing that I haven't really, sat down and talked about. And I was like, you know what, I don't know. So we had a conversation about that. Talk to people on a regular basis on how you can become a better man. Ask me like, well, what do you think about this topic or this topic?
Mm-hmm.
Find that person that is willing to talk to you, about that, and then you'll know, where you fall into play, and if you're doing the things that you need to do, that's helping you become the best man that you can be. So it all starts with that show up. Then the next thing is the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can implement what you've learned. Because many
Right.
of us are doing that right now. The question is, who's your source? And
Right.
is your source sharing information that's going to help you become a better man according to God or a better man according to them? Where they validate you and say, now you are a man. Well, what was that validated by? And where did you get that information from that validated you? We need to have that same validation according to the scriptures to say, despite what anybody else say, if I know where I'm at, according to the scriptures, God is pleased with what I'm doing as a man. So we got to get that vertical relationship right. And
Right.
so enhance our horizontal relationship with the people we come in contact with. He's going to put people in our life that will see the value in a simple conversation, the one who will take time to talk to us, the one who's going to call and text us to see how we're doing. But we want to make sure that we have our vertical relationship right first, so that horizontal relationship and all the people that we come in contact with, will be on the lookout for us to
Right.
be able to help us, to be able to use our gift as best as we can. So it's okay to have that fear. We all have a little fear in us.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that fear doesn't consume us. That's the thing. We do not want the fear to consume us. So if we be around people who are confident about their life and about themselves being a man and willing to be open and transparent and stuff, that will help that individual be more confident and know who he is as a man and be able to live his life according to his purpose.
Exactly, exactly. So, um, what's gonna be some of the topics you're gonna talk about at the conference?
It's important for us to understand that there's a lot of health challenges that
Yeah.
are keeping us from becoming the best men that we can be.
Yep.
So, as a trainer, it's important for me to lay that out there of how we need to take care of our bodies
Hmm.
because we are what we eat,
Yes, sir.
and exercise works better for the brain and the body, with no doubt. And so we have to talk about physical fitness and to start small. There's one thing about us as men, you give us too much, we'll turn things off. And I understand that. So we want to give a little bit at a time in reference to what we can do at home, as far as stretching is concerned and some
Hmm.
light activity, which will lead us to more activity later on as we progress. We'll talk about men's mental health. There's a lot of things that are going on with men and their mental conditions. And we have to respect that, that everybody's wired different and everybody got different things that's going on with them. The question is, how do we handle those individuals when
Hmm.
they come across us? When it's all said and done, the love that we have for them should be the common denominator. And when I say love, enough love to where we'll take enough time out to listen to these individuals when they need us. They calling us for a reason. We need to be there for those individuals. And if we can't help them, we need to find the help for them. Because the last thing that we want is for that person to be the last, we be the last person that they spoke to and realize that we didn't help them, in enough time. And
Hmm.
then something happens to them, and then something happens to the people that's around them. And so we have to see the value in understanding more about men's mental health so we can be there for those individuals who have those mental challenges. So we'll talk a little bit about that and do some breakout sessions to where we have a better understanding of some basic things from the counselor who will be speaking on men's mental health.
Hmm.
We're going to talk about listening. You and I, we're doing a great job of listening to one another, and we're processing the information well enough to where we can give back the right kind of response.
Right.
Well, many of us, when we're talking to one another, we're already plotting on what we're going to do and what we're going to say, and
Right.
we miss what the person is sharing with us. And so we want to talk about that importance that everything starts with listening.
Right.
And so a lot of things don't get done because we don't listen well enough. And
Exactly.
we
And
have to talk about those.
one of the things I'll
Go ahead.
say about that is I always try to preface with people. I need you to listen to understand and not to respond. Because, like you said, most people, when you talk to them, they are preparing their comeback. Because a lot of times, especially if it's like a debate, the whole outlook is I want to win. I want to
Yep.
I want to be right. I want to prove you wrong. So then, therefore, the whole thing is nobody's listening to understand each other's point of view. And so my thing is I want you to listen, to understand, and not to respond. And if I get to the point where I can see that you're not trying to listen, to understand, then we're gonna pause the conversation because it's not gonna be productive because you're not trying to understand my point of view, but you want me to understand your point of view. So then, therefore, we're gonna put the conversation on hold till we both learn to listen to understand. So that's key.
Absolutely. Those are great, great points. And the listening aspect of it, which lead us to, it helps us to love one another a lot better. And the way that we show love, we need to talk about that,
Hmm.
that there are different types of loves.
Yep.
And many of us only know well, we know of the other ones, they just don't have a name to it.
Mm.
But the love that we share for one another as men, we don't want to get that twisted up with the love we may have with our spouse or anything like that. It's a different kind of love that we have for one another that we
Hmm.
should have for one another. We have to show that love and that care.
Yep.
It's important for us to see the examples on a regular basis when it comes to athletics. We can come together as a team of different nationalities and different backgrounds for the purpose of winning a football game, not for us, really for somebody else. Like you wearing the Georgia shirt,
Mm.
and the University of Georgia ain't even doing nothing for you,
Right.
but you representing, you know what I'm saying, Georgia. And so the love that we have on a team, we come together as a team, but when we get off the field, things are different. Shouldn't be like that. We
Right.
need to have that same mindset of love for one another on the field and off the field and have the right relationships. A lot of times we have so much love for things that don't give us anything in return.
Right.
Like, I'm an LSU fan,
Hmm.
and so, but LSU is not doing anything for me, but I wear their paraphernalia. I don't know the president. I don't know the people who are running that university, but if I put all my energy and love into those individuals and I don't get anything in return, that frustrates an individual.
Hmm.
So even in personal relationships, if it's just one way and nobody is giving anything back, naturally that person is going to be frustrated and he's going to show that. So we have to see the value in loving one another, where I'm showing love to you, you showing love to me, everybody wins,
Hmm.
God is glorified. So we're going to talk about that and how important it is to show love for one another. And when the time permits, is not waiting till a person is no longer there, but to let that person know, hey man, I love you and
Hmm.
I appreciate you for all that you do. That doesn't make us no less than a man.
Hmm.
If
Yep.
Christ can show that love and communicate that to us, and we say that we following Him, we should be able to do that for one another. When we do that, we actually empower one another by showing how much we love one another. So we're
Right.
going to spend some time on that topic. And when we talk about love, it leads us to the connection. And we have the right connection because I listen to you, I show love to you. Now we are connected and we have some things in common. And
Right.
so that is the LLC of manhood right there. To
Hmm.
listen, to love, and to connect to one another through this process. And we have to do the best that we can in all three areas. You take one of them out, the other ones are not going to work. So we're going to talk about listen. We're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about connecting. And of course, the highlight of it all, the theme of it all, is the definition of a man. We want to talk about what that definition is and say if this is what we're supposed to do as men. And hey, people have an opportunity to make changes or not. But I want to bring awareness to it that when you go down this direction, we know where it's going to lead us because the one who established that is the perfect one. If we go down this direction, we know it's only temporal and it may change again. So we know where that's going to lead us. So if we want to be the best man we got to go down the right path and knowing the fact that we have enough blessings to be able to receive when we go down that path, understanding and living the definition of a man. And those were the topics that we're going to be talking about at the men's conference.
I'm gonna have to take that LLC. I like that. I ain't gonna. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna let you know right now. I'm gonna take that. And use that for myself. That was good because it's funny because a lot of times men we have a hard time, and I'm no different. We have a hard time showing love to each other, and we have this stigma. A lot of times you might have this vulnerable moment with a dude that you cool with, and he want to express his love for you as a friend, and but he has to preface it as like I'm not gay or anything like that. So you won't think I or the other guy won't think he's all into that kind of way, and it shouldn't have to be
Right.
that way. If I got love for you, Eugene, I should be able to say it and not be concerned about how you take it. You know what I'm saying? And you
Right.
know that you're gonna receive it,
Absolutely.
and then you're gonna receive it in the way that I'm giving it, which is a brotherly love. You know what I'm saying? But
Absolutely.
I just think now we got this fear that we don't want nobody thinking we're anything other than this hardcore dude that we don't want to express our loving feelings for another person, especially another dude. So I think
Right.
that's really really important.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so what way we did the listening, we did the love. How do we do better by connecting with each other?
Well, the listening and the love help brings us together because we have common ground when it comes to connecting. And just like Jesus did, he met people where they were, and that's how
Hmm.
he spoke to them. And so it's not for me to fit you in my box, and because
Hmm.
that's comfortable for me.
Right.
But my job is not to make you uncomfortable. My
Right.
job is to see where you are, to where we can both be comfortable when it's all said and done, because the last thing that I want to say is this is what I did in order for us to get to this point. No, it's what we did. Conversations require two people, for us to do things. So in order for us to connect, I need to understand that your story is different than mine. And by certain questions and certain things that we talk about, then I want to meet you where you are,
Right.
and I also understand that in this conversation, since I'm a talker, you a talker, somebody gonna have to be quiet and listen. And so I have to understand that my role at this time may be for me to listen.
Yeah.
And so that would help our connection draw stronger and get closer together. So I have to know what my role is in the conversation. See, the thing is, Kev, is that people they overlook the experience that we have on a regular basis
Hmm.
of how we talk to one another. It's one of the greatest experience that no roller coaster ride could ever compare to, because there's so many things that are involved in the conversation that we have to one another. And when we leave from a conversation, just like we leave from that ride, we either going to say, I want to go for that ride again, or I don't ever want to do that again. That's the same thing that we say in conversation.
Right.
We want each conversation that we have with each other to be that moment where we say, if I come across that individual again, I can't wait to talk to him. Or we
Yeah.
set a time and schedule to talk to one another. We're excited about it because it meant that much to us. We had a great experience. That's how we draw closer together and to be connected, by knowing what our role is when we're talking to one another, and seeing if we have that experience that we all desire. Nobody wants to have a bad experience in the conversation. So my job is to make sure that after we have a conversation, that you were uplifted, you were encouraged, and you were excited and empowered by what I had to, by my presence. I may
Hmm.
not even said anything, but by my presence,
Yep.
that you were uplifted, encouraged, and inspired and empowered, by us getting together and talking and listening to one another. That's how we draw us closer to each other.
Right. And something you had talked about earlier too was like we have to understand the energy that we give out. A lot of times, I'm a mellow dude, so my energy is very mellow. So then I make everybody comfortable because of the mellow energy that I give out. But you might have some other guys that's got a real aggressive energy, and that aggressive energy makes everybody else kind of hesitant to be bothered with that person because of the aggressive energy that they have, and they don't understand why people react to them in the way in the manner they do. It's because of the energy that you pursue that you put out there. So one of the things in the journey is you gotta figure out what kind of energy that are you giving out, and if that's the kind of energy you want to give out to the world, because what you give out is what you're gonna get back. So you give out a lot of love, so therefore you're gonna get a lot of love back. Same with me. I give out a lot of love. In return, I get a lot of love back. It's not something that I seek. It's just something I
Mm-hmm.
get based on what I give out. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of times men and women have to understand, that you get out, you get in the world what you put out to the universe. And so
Absolutely.
if you don't like what you're getting back, you have to assess yourself and say, where am I giving out? Because it's the law of reciprocity. You're gonna get what you put out. So therefore, if you're not getting what you want, change it. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something you were saying that really clicked with me, because we gotta really figure out, in the journey, not just learn our purpose, but learn who we are and what we're giving out to the world. And if we don't like what we're giving out, how can we go about changing it to do something better about it? So I really respect that.
Thank you. Yeah, we need to understand too. that it's not about us, man. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
We can easily send out mixed signals, just like you said. You put out that type of energy, but you expect something else, and it's just not going to work like that. So you got to make some changes and understand that your words and your actions have an impact on the people that's around you.
Right.
And so don't, fall into that cliche of this is my life. I do what I want to do.
Hmm.
I don't care what nobody think about it. You right. It is your life. You right. You can do whatever you want to do. And you have that right, every right, to not care what somebody else think about it. But I tell you this much, that's selfish.
Right.
That's selfish.
Yep.
And shame on you for feeling that way because you never know the things that you say to an individual that in that comment to that individual could be the comment that would encourage that person to just give up on life.
Hmm.
And you have that same impact on that person that person may want to give life a second chance. So we have to be mindful,
Hmm.
whether we want to or not, that our words and our actions play a major role to the people that's around us. The things we send out on Facebook and Instagram and what we tweet and everything like that, that plays a major role on the
Yep.
people who are reading that. And we don't know what happens, to those individuals when they receive it and how they receive it. So we
Hmm.
have to be more mindful for that, especially for us as men,
Hmm.
because we're guarded. Many of us are already guarded
Yep.
and we're very defensive when it comes to things and we jump into that survival of the fittest mode. And I'm not going to allow you to say this and do this to me this kind of way,
Right.
and ruin that conversation experience. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to realize that energy that we putting out to that individual. It's like, man, when it's all said and done, I want both of us to walk away inspired, encouraged, empowered, and leave peacefully when
Mm.
it's all said and done. If we have that type of mindset in our conversation, then we'll draw people closer to us when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
But we have to send out the right signals. Can't send out wrong signals and expect, other results. Just not gonna happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as we get closer towards the end, I want to give you enough time because I listened to you on live today, so I know you could do a good speak, you could do a good prayer, whatever you want to do. But this is your time to speak from your heart, whatever you want to talk about. You got enough time. Don't worry about the time. Speak how long you want to, but speak to the audience, to me, and whoever else is listening, whatever you want to speak about, and so we can receive it today.
One of the most important things through this whole process is for us to contribute more than we complain. Many of us will say, this is not happening over here, but the same people who are saying that this is not happening are the ones that are not doing anything. So I encourage men and women to choose contribution over complaining in an area where is lacking. And when it's all said and done, just know that what you contributed may be something that you will receive back in return from your energy and your contribution. When it comes to man, let's talk. I say if it's your resources that you have, your connections you have, if it's financial means that you have to give or whatnot to contribute, because this is something that's bringing men together to be the best men that we can be for our homes, for our churches, and our community, and for this country. Also to help us be the best fathers and the best husbands that we can be uh, in those areas. And so for many women who are saying, the men are not doing this and they're not doing that, if you know that there's something in your area that you can contribute to it and help them be a part of it. And men as well, if you see that there's a need in an area to help men become better, especially for our younger generation, contribute.
All right.
It's good to complain, but don't stay there on the complaining. Say what you're going to do after you complain. That many of us will have a Rolodex of all the complaints that we have to make us look good and saying, we brought this to the attention. Now, who's going to do something about it? Well, newsflash, if you came up with it, It was meant for you to be a part of it and
Absolutely.
to help and be a part of that solution. And many of us don't see that. So I encourage people to choose contribution over complaining. With man to man, let's talk. If you have connections, if you have resources, you have financial means to be able to help us, please contribute in any way that you can because we're doing better for the next man that you will come in contact with. We want to be, we want to make sure that that man is the best husband that he can be because he's surrounded by an all-star team of men that are there to help him. Okay. And so we want to make sure that not only he's the right husband, but he's the right father. The only way that he'll know that he's where he needs to be is being around other men. And so these things take funds, it takes time, it takes resources in order for that to happen. And so I encourage you to do that. Since this is not something that's done on a regular basis, we want to make this a regular thing and where people will see the value in coming together like at a men's conference, a men's workshop, and monthly we have our monthly small group Saturday meetings. So we're always connected, but that requires resources. It requires funds in order for that to happen. So it's not the White House job. It's not our local government job. It's almost not to an extent the church's job to an extent. It's the community's job for us to come together and be the best men that we can be. And in order for us to do that, we have to contribute more than we complain. This man to man Let's Talk conference that's coming up is something that's going to change my life and it's going to change every other man's life that's going to be a part of it. Now, there may be a brother, there may be an uncle, there may be a cousin, a father, or whoever that you know that can benefit from this, and they have the means to do it. Your words are important to share with that individual to let them know what's going on and for them to come to this conference. If you care about that person that much, all you got to do is plant the seed to those individuals. You're being part of the solution and not part of the problem. Don't let that person go down that route that you know is going to take them to a place of nowhere and they won't help them become the best man they can be at the age that they're at. I encourage you to contribute as best as you can. When I ask you to share the videos that I post, you don't know what that's going to do to the next person that receives that.
Hmm.
And you'll see a person that's wearing this hat or wearing this shirt, and they will impact. And he's like, man, I'm so proud of that guy for doing what he's doing. I'm so proud of him because he's connected to the organization where I shared the information to. And what you did is you helped one man to hopefully stay out of jail, one man from committing a crime that will cost him his life or somebody else's life, one man that will think twice before he beat on his girlfriend or beat on his wife or beat his children and you know the way that they ain't supposed to be doing it because he was around more men that was able to sharpen him, to encourage him, and to help him be in line with his purpose that was given by God. So I encourage you to contribute more than complain. Let these men know this conference that's taking place and for them to come and when it happens in the ATL, you know, that we'll make it happen over there too. When it's in your town, that you'll contribute and make sure that that man gets there. When it's all said and done, we're going to stay connected because this is a lifetime thing for us. It's a lifetime thing for us in that we stay connected and keep each other encouraged and sharpened throughout this whole process. Please do not take this lightly. This is an urgent matter. Men need to do better. And if they have men out there that are doing things to help men to be better, I encourage you to support it 100% by any means necessary because you're going to need that man to help you at some point. And that's for men and women. We're going to need that person to help us. We want him to have the right mindset to be able to see the value in helping someone who is in need. And again, when it's all said and done, everybody wins and God is glorified. And understand this, we are not competitors.
Right.
You are my teammate, men and women. You are my teammate. You're a human being like I am. And we're all fighting against the same enemy, and it's Satan. And we got to be real. that we are in the middle of a spiritual warfare. That's Ephesians chapter 6. We're in the middle of a spiritual warfare, and Satan wants us as bad as God is trying to keep us. And so we want to make sure that we stay on the right path with God, because we are created by him for his purpose, and not let Satan take over our lives and do the things he wants us to do, and that's fight against one another. All the hate, all the jealousy, all the malice, all the covetousness, all the lasciviousness, and all those different things it talks about in the Bible, things that God does not like. We have to make sure that we're not living our lives that way. Because if we're trying to be blessed the way that God wants to bless us, he's not going to bless us if we're not in line with him. So let's just make sure that we understand that we are teammates, and God has enough blessings for all of us when it's all said and done, and that we're fighting against the same enemy. And when we see somebody that's out of line, then we correct them in love. And hopefully they will allow us to see the value in that. But we have to change the culture, because it's not like that as much right now. But when we change that culture and we do it in love and let them know, make ourselves available, MYA, make yourself available for the next man. Make yourself available for the next woman. Let that be on your top to-do list. That's going to change your life, because it sure changed my life in making myself available for people who need my services as a human being. All right. Real quick, I got to say this. This is important.
Mm-hmm.
Today, a lot of the things we do, we're defined by the description that we have. So we all have a job description based off of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's been identified, bullet point down. But before we had a job description, we've been given a human description.
Mm-hmm.
And we cannot allow our human description to supersede our job description. It's important for us to know when we need to step in and be a human being and not turn a blind eye because it's not according to what the handbook says. We can't let people go down when we see them going down at the workplace, and say, well, that's not my responsibility. Newsflash. It is your responsibility. You're a human being. And to see another human being go in the wrong direction, even at the workplace, is wrong. We've been charged and commanded to look out for one another, to encourage one another, to help one another, to bear one another's burdens. So don't ever let your human description be lower be lower than your job description. That always have to be higher, because that's what we've been charged with from day one. The please, the thank yous, the mannerisms that we have, that's all written in the book that we read, the Bible. And so we need to carry that with us and let people know, I'm doing this, I'm going the extra mile, because that person is a human being like I am. He's a man like I am. I know what he feels, and I know what his needs are. And it's my job to go out there and to help him. So if I have to make a sacrifice, and if that requires my job to be sacrificed, man, look, jobs are temporal anyway. But even when you lose a job and you get a job, you're still a human being. So which direction would you rather go?
Mm-hmm.
Saving a life, losing a job, or keeping your job and somebody losing their life? So we have a decision to make when it's all said and done. We have a human description that we have to follow by, and it is written. And we are charged and commanded already to follow by that. And when we do that and we're in sync with God, God is going to bless us the way that he sees fit, and everybody wins when it's all said and done. Let's listen to what God says and not what the world is promoting out there. The world has a job to do, but we're going to make sure that we listen to the one who created us. The world didn't create us. God created the world and everything on here, so he created us too. Let's make sure that we listen to God, and then everything else will take care of itself, and we get the blessings that God has in store for us. This is Man to Man. Let's talk. Sign up for that conference, baby. March the 7th through the 9th, 2019. Will you be there? We waiting for you. We got a spot for you. Yes, sir.
Excellent job, sir. Excellent job. So before we let you go, give them your social media information so they can find you.
Check me out on Facebook under Eugene Johnson Jr. That's my profile. Let's connect. Let's connect, man. I want to know what you're all about it. And then on my training pages, Eugene Johnson Jr.'s in-home personal training. Okay. And then my speaker page, Eugene Johnson Jr. the transformer, baby. We're transforming minds all the time, right? And then on Instagram, I'm on Man to Man. Let's talk. At 614, I believe it is. But there's only one Man to Man. Let's talk on there. So check me out on Instagram there, where you can connect with me there and get some different feed that you don't get on Facebook. Go to www.m2mletstalk.com, the website where we can stay connected there, and all the information of what's taking place. You get the video testimonials of people who experience the workshops, and also those who experience the small group Saturdays. So you can go and check out those videos, and check me out on YouTube, Man to Man Let's Talk, on my channel, my own channel, where I have some videos on there as well, where you can see an extensive amount of videos that I'm currently posting up of the workshops and things that I've been a part of. So check me out on those areas. And I just want to be connected to you, men and women, where we can work together and do great things for our community.
I appreciate that, sir. So before we get off the air, I would like to say that we all are servant leaders. It's all our responsibility to be a service to someone else. So, when you leave out in the morning, your thing should be asking is, how can I be a service to someone else? And not what can I get from someone else, but how can I serve someone else? Because you never know who may need you that day, who may need you to be a blessing to them that day. So always ask yourself to be, how can I be a service to somebody else? As about this particular show today, I asked everybody to share this video, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube. Share the video, tag the men in your life that you feel need to hear something like this. Because we could do our part by having a conversation, but we need you to share the information, share this video, share this post, so they can get to the right men, can get connected to it, connect to Eugene, connect to me, so we could do our work and helping them become the best versions of themselves, mind, body, and spirit. So for those who are new, I know a lot of people from Houston's probably watching. You can reach out to me at Kevin Thornton, or you can also go on my Facebook page of the Wellness Architect, and also on IG is the Wellness Architect. Reach out to me, stay connected to me, as we both are out here to try to make you be the best version of yourselves, mind, body, and spirit. With that being said, be your best self, be authentic, be great, be you, and we are out. Peace.